Be right with you guys. All right, those that are in, can you hear this? Let me know. I don't have the other hosts tonight, so doing the mic check is a little difficult. Thank you, Ketzer. How about now? Is there audio now? What's up, Caitlin? Ooh. All right. Yeah, it looks like I accidentally hit the mute button. It's all right. Sweet. There. Piling in. All right. 1 minute. Give him 1 minute, and we will get going. Oh, that's right. Kenzar met Caitlin when she was here. I forgot about that. How I forgot about that? I don't know. Definitely a sleepless night. It's great. Wow, you guys are friends. It's great. I'm very happy for you. All right. Let's see. Welcome back to Infinite Rabbit Hole, everybody. I'm your host, Jeremy. Today we're going to do things a little different again. This is going to be very reminiscent of the episode we did on the Charlie Kirk shooting. But this one has a completely different topic, something more up our alley when it comes to the unknown. We're going to talk about Three-Eye Atlas. Now, if for some reason you do not know what Three-Eye Atlas is, I don't know if this is going to be necessarily a good episode for you. This it's tough to explain, okay? In layman's terms, it's a rock flying through the solar system. Okay? Meteor, asteroid, comet, whatever you want to call it. But there's a lot of intrigue surrounding it because it is showing some very strange characteristics. Some things that we have never seen before. Some things that math and science are not explaining correctly. So, the gist is that astrophysicist, astronomer, if you will, from Harvard University, Avi Loeb, claims that this could be potentially an extraterrestrial craft. So let's dive into that. Okay? I'm going to break this down for you guys so that you know where he's getting this idea from, who he is, and all of the weird stuff that's been going on. I bundled it all up nicely for you, and this presentation should be pretty educational. Before we do that, I made a post on Facebook and on X announcing that there is a new logo on the screen today. That there is the logo for my new podcast. That is the Project Jackalope logo. Now, there will be more coming out soon on what exactly is Project Jackalope. For the time being, I'm going to leave it at just that. But that is the official name of the new podcast, Project Jackalope. And I'm very excited about it. I'm giddy. It's literally what I wanted to do with Infinite Rabbit Hole. And now that I have all the experience that I need and I can do this correctly the way that I want to do it, Project Jackalope is going to be amazing. I don't know how else to explain that. If you guys know me, you guys probably have a really good idea as to what it is and how it's going to be portrayed. For those of you that don't, you'll learn. It's going to be awesome, especially if you like some of the older stuff that Infinite Rabbit Hole did. Now, moving on, because I don't want to spend a ton of time on that. I want to get right into Avi Loeb and Three Eye Atlas. There's a lot going on. So, just like with the Charlie Kirk assassination, I felt it was important to come on and explain to everybody what's really going on here. Okay? There's a lot of noise going on, a lot of people making up things, a lot of AI images going on, a lot of AI everything going on, really. So let's skim through all this and sift through the bullshit, if you will. I created this presentation because I think it needs to be done. I don't think anybody's out there really breaking this down for people so that they understand where he's coming from. A lot of people are just saying, this guy's crazy, or this guy's on it, right? But they're not explaining why. Why is he crazy? Why is he saying something that should be a dire warning to all of Earth? So let's dive into that. All right. Now, I did script this out. I don't normally script my stuff out. But I've been working on this for the past couple of days now, and it's finally at a point where I'm comfortable with presenting it to you. So, today, let's dive in to Avi Loeb and his theories, or his possibilities, with Three Eye Atlas. And we do this by asking a few questions. The first one is, who is Avi Loeb? That's important. Abraham Avi Loeb is an Israeli and American theoretical physicist who works on astrophysics and cosmology. He is the Franklin B. Bard Jr. Professor of Science at Harvard University. He is the director of the Institute for Theory and Computation and was the longest serving chair of Harvard's Department of Astronomy from 2011 to 2020, and the founding director of the Black Hole Initiative. He has published extensively on topics like black holes, the first stars and galaxies, and the search for extraterrestrial life. He heads the Galileo Project, which aims to systematically search for evidence of extraterrestrial technologies and their signatures. He is also a best-selling author with books including Extraterrestrial, The First Sign of Intelligent Life Beyond Earth, and a book by the title of Interstellar. This right here, this is his book, Extraterrestrial, and it is a phenomenal book. If you're a science-minded person, this is something that you're going to want to read. Avi Loeb really does break it down very well. He's very articulate, and he's a very smart guy. With that being said, let's dive right into the big stuff, the stuff that people are going crazy about. There are 8 strange characteristics that Avi Loeb has pointed out that Three Eye Atlas is portraying. Some of these are really strange. And then we'll dive into what this all means. So, the very second question of this entire presentation is, how did Harvard astronomer Avi Loeb conclude that Three Eye Atlas may be a non-natural object? Well, the first point is its large size, or mass. Now, this is probably going to be one of the more duller points made tonight, but let's get it out of the way. The object appears to be anomalously large and massive compared to previous interstellar objects like Oumuamua, and Borisov, which is a rare occurrence for an interstellar object to be captured in our solar system's orbital plane. Its size is estimated to be larger than 5 kilometers. Now, a lot of people are comparing this to the size of Manhattan, and it's fairly close. So, when people are saying a Manhattan-sized object is in our solar system, they're not necessarily wrong. Okay, this thing is humongous. It's huge. 2, the second point is that it's got a very strange alignment with our eclipse plane. So the trajectory of 3i Atlas is closely aligned with the elliptical plane. That is the plane in which the planets orbit around the sun. All planets, moons, everything in our solar system, except for Pluto, that's a little different, all are on a plane. Nice flat plane. So it would basically be like holding up a level and checking for something to be level. That would be the plane of all of our planets and moons sit on as they orbit the sun. 3i Atlas is very close to this. In fact, it is within 5 degrees of this plane, which is statistically improbable for an object arriving from a random interstellar direction. Take that into consideration, okay? Something has come from outside of our solar system into our solar system. That alone is pretty amazing when you really think of how big space is. So, as a quick overview of space, okay, we live on a planet. Our planet orbits the sun. Our planet, all the other planets, and the sun, as well as the asteroid belt, the Oort cloud, and anything else here, creates our solar system. Our solar system is one of billions, if not trillions, if not more, solar systems within our galaxy known as the Milky Way. And there are billions, if not trillions, if not way more, uncountable amount of galaxies in the universe. Now, there's a famous saying that says there are more galaxies in the universe than there are grains of sand on Earth. That holds weight. Think of that. That's how small we are. So for an object to come from outside of our solar system into our solar system on the elliptic plane is pretty amazing. All right, so this is just 2 points so far. How big it is and its path of travel being on our ecliptic plane. Third, this is probably one that we've been hearing a lot about lately because within the last 24 hours, this changed and we caught it. So, 3, the sunward facing jet. This is called an antitail. The object exhibited a sunward facing jet, or antitail. While some comets have antitails as an optical illusion, Loeb suggests this one is a physical feature, which is unusual for a typical comet. This jet is about 10 times longer than it is wide. So with that being said, the tail of a comet, okay, this is your stereotypical comet, right? If you're going to draw a comet on a piece of paper, you're going to draw a rock with a long tail. That tail typically points away from the sun. The reason being is because of the radiation pressure caused by the sun. Okay? It does create a small amount of pressure outwards from the sun, which is enough to force that tail away from it. Now, a lot of people just believe that the tail is something that is behind it. It's moving in the direction, or it's moving in the reverse direction of where the comet is moving. And that is absolutely false. A comet can be moving one way with the tail facing any direction, but the tail is typically pointed away from the sun. Now, this is just from our point of view because that's what we can observe, right? So when we see comets, the tail points away from the sun. That is due to the radiation pressure coming off of the sun. This tail is facing towards the sun. Very strange. So there's been a lot of theories that came out about this, including reverse thrust being one, right? So if you think of a space shuttle flying through space, you would imagine that there would be some sort of combustion or exhaust coming out of the backside of that craft. That's kind of what Avi Loeb is talking about here, where he believes that this could be a correction maneuver, a directional correction maneuver. Now, that's pretty crazy too. We don't see that. Now, this can happen as an optical illusion and is usually a temporary thing that doesn't stay around for long. Usually it crosses some sort of plane, some sort of something. Okay? There is the lensing effect that the atmosphere of the planet causes from when we're looking out. That is also comes into play here. 3i Atlas isn't that. This is something that we permanently saw for many days, if not weeks. And actually within the last 24 hours, if you Google it, the big news is that that anti-tail became a regular tail. Now that's very strange. That's not something that we also would typically see. Moving on. Again, that's just 3 points so far. We got 8 of them. The fourth point that he points out is the close pass to planets in our solar system. The arrival time of 3i Atlas allowed its trajectory to bring it within relatively close proximity to Mars, Venus, and Jupiter, which is also statistically unlikely for a random arriving object. Now, here's the real kicker. Notably, its path avoided a very close call or close pass to Earth. In fact, right now, it is on the other side of the sun. It will be at its closest point to the sun on October 29th, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But it is very strange that it does do very close passes to 3 planets within our solar system, because Jupiter technically isn't in our inner solar system. But it also sneaks behind the sun while Earth is on the opposite side. So, yes, this could be complete coincidence, but think of it from a strategical point of view. If you are an alien species on an alien craft coming to Earth or coming into our solar system, and you want to try to remain unseen for as long as you can, you're going to hide yourself behind the star while the planet in question, Earth, is on the other side. It's strategy. Okay? That is probably a very low possibility of happening, although it's probably not 0. Now we're at 4 points right there. Okay? 4 points where, okay, this is kind of getting weird here. We have 4 more to go. So, point number 5, this is one that's been also making a lot of news lately. This is its nickel-rich composition. Spectroscopic analysis of the gas plume, or coma, around 3i Atlas showed a composition that is rich in nickel but poor in iron. The ratio of nickel to cyanide observed is reportedly orders of magnitude larger than that of all known solar system comets, similar to what might be found in industrial nickel alloys. So, we are seeing an alloy that is not seen naturally here on Earth. Not saying that it can't be naturally somewhere else, but for those of you that are unaware of what an alloy is a mixture of metals. Okay? So alloys do happen in nature, but it's not common. And something like this, where we're having a nickel alloy with some other metals that are also very rare, the combination of them together is even rarer. This is a combination that we use, like I just pointed out, in industry, manufacturing industries. This is something that's seen in a lot of our defense technology. Not typically found on a comet or an asteroid. Okay? It's just not. That's point number 5. Pretty strange. Number 6 is the low water content. The gas plume contains only a small percentage of water by mass. Around 4% is what our best technology is able to estimate. Whereas water is the primary constituent like that, of most familiar comets. Instead, the plume contained a much higher amount of carbon dioxide. Exhaust, everybody. Okay? So, not only is the plume not a majority water vapor, like we see typically on comets. For those of you that don't know, comets are typically rock and ice. When ice melts and evaporates, as it would as it comes closer to the sun, why it has that tail in the first place, it becomes a mist of sorts, but is still locked into the gravitational pull of that comet for creating that tail. The tail, from what we can tell, is not water vapor. It's carbon dioxide. All right, so that's 6. 6 things. Number 7, extreme negative polarization. The light scattered from 3I Atlas showed extreme negative polarization, a characteristic that is reportedly unprecedented for known comets. And that includes Borisov and Oumuamua. Okay, we also got a really weird phenomenon happening over the last couple days too, having to deal with light emitted from 3I Atlas. It was supposedly, and I can't find a solid source on this, but there are multiple sources, multiple mainstream media sources, if you will, too, that claim that light was being emitted from 3I Atlas in the exact same specifications as the Fibonacci sequence or the golden ratio. Very strange. Now, on the last episode that we did, actually, I think it's going to be coming out soon. It's not. Actually, I think it's going to come out after this episode. I used an example as a very, very layman example of, well, let's say it flashes and then 2 seconds later it's going to flash and then 4 seconds later and then 8 seconds later. That's a very, very layman way of looking at the Fibonacci sequence. I'm not going to get into exactly all the details there because that will take a while. But just know that the Fibonacci sequence is seen very regularly in nature, yes, but typically in biology or forestry, botany, if you will. The golden ratio is seen in a lot of structures, okay, a lot of biological structures. Yes, it is also seen in the spiral that's formed from a galaxy. So, what it's not typically seen in is something not natural, something like a spacecraft, if you will. But if you wanted to communicate with another species, another intelligent species, the Fibonacci sequence would be something that you could use. Okay, this is something where it's like, hey, we found this basic biological building block, if you, not meaning proteins, but in a complete other sense. This is our signal to you saying, hey, we're here and we're intelligent. This is basically communicating with math. Okay, this is what we've always talked about, the universal language of math. That's what we're getting. Okay, so that's 7. Now I saved 8 for last because I personally love 8. And I'm not going to dive too much into this. But we will at some point. Not in this episode. Number 8. Coincidence with the wow signal. The direction from which 3i Atlas arrived into our solar system is aligned to within 9 degrees. Now that's, on a yaw axis and vertical axis. Okay, within 9 degrees of the sky position from which the famous wow signal, which is a powerful unexplained radio signal coming from deep space that was detected in 1977 by SETI, the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. The same area, the same direction. Now, 9 degrees, yes. Okay, 9 degrees from us to, or from wherever you're standing to your closest wall, 9 degrees is not a lot. When you're talking about galactic space, 9 degrees is a ton. Okay? But if we're talking about something that can course correct, 9 degrees is very, very plausible. So there is a lot of connections coming right now. A lot of people going, oh shit, what if this was the thing that sent us the wow signal, or that we picked up the wow signal from? I should bring up just, it may not look very, grand to a lot of people that don't care about this stuff. But I do want to show you what the wow signal was without really explaining too much about it. So this right here, this is the wow signal. Okay, you see all these numbers right here. You got 1s, 2s. You got some bigger ones, 6, 7, 6. You see this right here? Now this is ambient sound. Okay, ambient. It's just the sound of the background radiation in the universe. These values, we're no longer counting them by numerics, but now we're getting into the alphabet as high as Q and U. This is a signal. This is a radio signal that we picked up. This is amazing. This is incredible. This came from within 9 degrees of the same direction that 3i Atlas came from. Very interesting in my book, at least. So, let me bring up my script again here. That is the 8 characteristics that 3i Atlas is currently showing. We'll go over those one more time real quick. 1, large size and mass. 2, alignment with the elliptical plane. 3, sunward facing jet or anti-tail. 4, close passes to planets. 5, a nickel-rich composition and a carbon dioxide exhaust. Maybe. low water content, that's where the carbon dioxide comes into. 7, extreme negative polarization. And 8, coincidence with the wow signal. Okay, so let's put all this into mathematical terms. Probability. So Avi Loeb has stated the probability of the multiple anomalies of the interstellar object 3I Atlas occurring together by chance for a natural comet as extremely low, citing a collective probability that it is a 1 in 10 quadrillion chance, or a 10 to the negative 16th power. However, he also breaks down the probabilities for specific persistent anomalies. So let's revisit those 8 topics again with a brief description and what Avi Loeb had assigned to that anomaly. So number 1 was orbital inclination. Okay, this is the one where the orbital plane is aligned within 5 degrees of the planetary ecliptic plane and performing a retrograde motion through the solar system. That is something I didn't touch on in the first part. The retrograde motion. So it is going against the planets. So the planets move in one direction. Okay, this object is moving against that. This screams. This is proof that this is not a standard object in our solar system. Now, if it was coming from the other way, right, like all other comets do, this could be something that we can argue and just say, hey, this is something that maybe passes by every 10,000 years. But it's not. It's coming from the other direction. Okay? Avi Loeb assigns a 0.2% probability to this. Second anomaly, planetary encounter timing. The arrival timing allows for close passes to Mars, Venus, and Jupiter. He assigns a 0.005% chance. This does include hiding behind the sun and not coming close to Earth. Now, number 3, I moved the wow signal up. Okay, because this is the only other one where he actually applies a numerical value to the probability of this happening. So the inbound direction aligns with within 9 degrees of the 1977 wow signal. So he assigns a 0.6% to that. So a 0.2% to the orbital inclination, 0.005% to planetary encounter timing, and 0.6% to the wow signal alignment. The other ones, however, let's go sunward jet. The object showed an outflow of material pointing towards the sun, contrary to the expected solar wind-driven tail. He just says this is a low probability, but a precise number isn't generally stated as it defies standard cometary outgassing models. Okay? So, this happens because of outgassing, which we also know is not water, which moves us into 0.5, the anomalous composition. The gas plume contains a nickel-rich, iron-poor composition, including nickel tetracarbonyl, a compound usually associated with industrial processes on Earth. He applies a term extremely low probability, as this composition is unprecedented in comets. Very strange. Low water content. The gas plume contains only about 4% water with a high abundance of carbon dioxide, which is the opposite of the composition found in most comets. He also applied an extremely low probability to this because it challenges conventional comet models yet again. Number 7, the extreme negative polarization. The light reflected from the object shows a pattern of extreme negative polarization, a signature that is unprecedented for known comets. He assigns a low probability to this. suggesting an unusual, possibly metallic surface. And then, of course, the last one, which I said was probably not going to be the most crazy point made today, the anomalous mass and size. The object is estimated to be much larger and more massive than the two previous interstellar objects that we have spotted, Oumuamua and Borisov, or one-eye Oumuamua and two-eye Borisov, while moving faster than both. Okay, this thing is also moving very fast. We'll get into that here too. He assigns a low probability value to that based on the expected number density of large interstellar objects. Now, as I'm about to wrap this section up, I will get into a little bit of explaining, yes, he did only assign actual number values to 3 of these points. The other ones he felt were so low that he couldn't even assign a number value to this. Okay, he used low probability and extremely low probability, with the two using extremely low probability being the anomalous composition and the low water content. Okay, so how Avi Loeb reached the conclusion. Avi Loeb arrived at his conclusion by analyzing these 8 unusual and apparently uncorrelated characteristics of 3i Atlas and calculating the joint probability of those specific characteristics occurring together purely by chance in a natural object. 1. He first identifies multiple features that deviate significantly from the expected behavior of a typical natural interstellar comet, which we just reviewed. Okay, that's all wrapped up into step 1 there. 2, for several of these features, particularly the orbital and directional alignments, he performs statistical calculations to determine the chance of that signal event being a random coincidence. For instance, the chance of the orbital inclination being within 5 degrees of the ecliptic is calculated by considering the fraction of the total sky solid angle this small region presents. This applied to the 3 points highlighted by Loeb with actual numerical values assigned to them. So that's how he came to those numerical values. He literally made a pie out of the sky and said, okay, well, if it's coming from there, or if its movement is from there, the slice of pie from where it's coming from equals its probability. It's a smart way of doing it, honestly. Point 3, Loeb then argues the probability of all these statistically improbable independent characteristics occurring simultaneously in a single natural object is the product of their individual low probabilities. This manipulation of small probabilities results in the final extremely low collective probability, 1 in 10 quadrillion. So, Loeb's method for reaching the collective 10 to the negative 16th power probability relies on the multiplication rule for independent events. The 3 specific directional timing anomalies, that would be your orbital inclination, planetary encounter timing, and the wow signal alignment, are treated as statistically independent events that would each be unlikely for a random object. He then argues that the remaining 5 physical chemical anomalies, jet composition, water content, polarization, size, also add to this improbability. While he doesn't assign a simple number to these 5, the fact that they are unprecedented or defy physical models further drives the final combined probability toward a vanishing small number for a purely natural, randomly arriving object. The multiplication of the 3 specific probabilities, so this is just the 3 that he assigned numerical values, completely ignoring the other 5, by the way. The multiplication of the three specific probabilities listed above already yields an extremely small value. That would be the 0.002 value times 5 times 10 to the negative fifth power times that by the 0.006 value. This all equals 6 to 10, or 6 times 10 to the negative 10 power. When you multiply this figure, actually, you know what I should do? Let me show you what this looks like, okay? I'll just show you the script real quick. This is a script that I created. I think it's important. Okay, here is the equation. Okay, so if you come up here and you look at these right here, okay, orbital inclination, bam. Okay, planetary encounter timing, here it is. There's your 5 times 10 to the negative 5, and wow signal. Okay, those are all three of your values right there. And you come down, there's your 002, 5 to the 10 negative 5 power, and your 0.006. That equals 6 times 10 to the negative 10 power. So, when you multiply this figure by the estimated low probabilities for the 5 physical anomalies, each of which is a significant deviation from any known comet, I keep saying comet, the final joint probability becomes 10 to the negative 16. 10 to the negative 16. Which he figures he uses this figure to emphasize the extreme rarity of the object's characteristics. Loeb contends that because the joint probability of a natural origin is so low, a technological origin, for example, that the object is an extraterrestrial artifact, becomes a hypothesis that warrants serious investigation, despite the object still being classified as a comet by much of the scientific community. Based on the growing list of anomalies, though, he assigns a 30 to 40% likelihood that 3I Atlas is not entirely natural. To me, this is mind-blowing information. It's incredible what this man has put together. But we'll talk about that here in a little bit too. What we need to talk about now is what's going on around us. What's going on planet Earth, or with technology from planet Earth in response to 3I Atlas. What are they not telling us? This is the conspiracy part. Okay? So, the interstellar object 3I Atlas has prompted a significant and multifaceted response from the international scientific community, including a mix of intense observation, speculation, and planetary defense strategy adjustments. This is also something that just happened yesterday. Here are some recent events regarding our response to the comet. 1. Intense global observation campaign. Major space agencies and observatories worldwide have scrambled to observe 3I Atlas, leveraging some of the most powerful instruments available. This includes the Hubble Space Telescope, James Webb Space Telescope, which have provided unique data on its composition, like the high CO2 to water ice ratio and activity. Got those from those tools. Hubble and James Webb's space telescopes. The spacecraft already in the solar system, particularly those orbiting en route to Mars, like the European Space Agency's Mars Express, the ESA, and the Russian Roscosmos ExoMars Trace Gas Orbiter, and NASA's Perseverance rover, as well as others around Jupiter, like ESA's Jupiter Icy Moons Explorer, like aka JUICE, and NASA's Europa Clipper, were turned to observe the comet as it passed nearby. Telescopes like the Keck, Gemini, and the Nordic Optical Telescope have been used for astrometry, photometry, and spectroscopy, monitoring the comet's unusual features like its antitail. So, the second response is the planetary defense and training. This is the one that happened yesterday. The comet has been officially added to the list of objects tracked by the International Asteroid Warning Network, or IAWN, a United Nations endorsed group focused on planetary defense. IAWN initiated a special training and observation exercise to refine global asteroid and comet detection and tracking abilities using 3i Atlas as the target. This makes it the first interstellar object to be used in such a formal defense training campaign. This was big news yesterday. Basically, NASA kickstarted the whole Planetary Defense Network, which is this IAWN, or International Asteroid Warning Network, quietly. Did not announce it. We found out because so many different programs and other smaller networks are part of this one gigantic network for planetary defense. So it leaked. Now everyone's talking about it. 3, high-profile scientific speculation. Dr. Avi Loeb, the Harvard astrophysicist, has garnered widespread media attention for publicly suggesting that 3i Atlas's highly unusual characteristics could be consistent with an artificial or technological origin. Okay? That's part of scientific speculation. While Loeb's suggestion has been largely dismissed by most mainstream astronomers who point to the object's clear cometary activity and natural, albeit unusual, physics to explain its behavior, the vigorous discussion highlights the intense scrutiny and differing interpretations of the new data being collected. All in all, the scientific community is very speculative on this topic. There are every day more and more astronomers and physicians moving from, yeah, this is just a comet, guys. What are you talking about? To, okay, crazy old Avi Loeb might have something here. So, as we see more and more people make this change in opinion, this becomes less speculation. Okay, this is the natural order of how this would work, by the way. There would be a lot of people saying, no, this is stupid. What are you talking about? And then slowly, opinions would change. This is literally how this script would work, everybody. Now, let's dive into the real conspiracy side of this and connect it to Project Bluebeam. Okay, this is what everyone is talking about on websites like X and Reddit. Okay, people are going nuts and they're assigning this to Project Bluebeam. Personally, I think it's a fun thing to do. Okay, there are a lot of coincidences that are aligning. But let's first talk about what exactly was or is Project Bluebeam, and then we'll go into the connections with Project Bluebeam. So, Project Bluebeam is a well-known, elaborate conspiracy theory. Okay, conspiracy theory, bunny ear quotes there. Primarily promoted by the late Canadian journalist Serge Monast in the mid 1990s. By the way, we did a whole episode on this very, very early in the podcast. Actually, it was Jeff's first episode with the show. He came on as a guest. So by all means, check that out. The theory posits that NASA and the United Nations are orchestrating a multi-step plan to establish a new world order by destroying all traditional religions and installing a new global religion with an antichrist at its head. The key component of the plan, according to the theory, is the use of advanced secret technology to stage various deception events, which include using a sophisticated holographic projection in the sky worldwide to stage a technologically simulated second coming of a new Messiah or God. 2, using VLF, very low frequency, or ELF, extremely low frequency waves, to beam telepathic messages directly into people's minds to reinforce the religious supernatural deception. And 3, what is the most important step to our topic today would be the staging of a fake alien attack to unite the world's governments under a single military authority. Now, the recent attention on the interstellar object 3I Atlas creates a natural convergence point for this theory due to 2 main factors. 1, the very public suggestion by the aforementioned Harvard astrophysicist Dr. Avi Loeb that the unusual characteristics of 3I Atlas could potentially be consistent with an artificial or technological object has fueled public interest and speculation about extraterrestrial involvement. 2, conspiracy theorists have woven the 2 concepts together by claiming that the quote alien artifact theory about 3I Atlas is actually a precursor or an early phase of Project Bluebeam. The idea is that the public is being quote unquote softened up to believe in a large non-natural object entering the solar system, a real object that is simply being mischaracterized, so that the subsequent holographic deception or fake alien invasion will be more believable. Okay, I wrote that in a way to level out the playing field. Okay, I don't want to come at this taking one side or the other, so I want to make sure that both sides are presented. Okay, simple as that. I'll get into my personal thoughts and feelings on this at the end of the presentation, which is almost over. Actually, we're on the last bit right now. So, with all that being said, everything, the characteristics, who is Avi Loeb, Project Bluebeam, the mathematical equation that gives us a probability rating for this actually being a thing. What else about 3I Atlas is important? Well, it is the only it is only the 3rd confirmed interstellar object. So 3I, 3 interstellar Atlas, is only the 3rd object definitively confirmed to have originated from a star system outside of our own, following 1I Oumuamua, discovered in 2017, and 2I Borisov, discovered in 2019. Now, the key terms there, Atlas, Oumuamua, and Borisov, are all names assigned to it by the entity that discovered it. Atlas is an entity. Okay, this is some sort of club or whatever. Didn't go into what exactly Atlas is, because honestly, I don't care. Be honest with you. But that's where this came from. I think Oumuamua might be the only one that doesn't follow that rule. Borisov was a Russian group that found the second interstellar object in 2019. Oumuamua was discovered by a group in Hawaii that I do know, and they use the term Oumuamua because I want to say it means traveler. I could be wrong there. And they saw it as a fun way to tie in local culture with discovering something that's traveling through our solar system. And I could be wrong exactly what the translation is of Oumuamua, but I mean, it's Googleable. I can just Google it right now, but I'm not going to. Also, its trajectory is hyperbolic. Eccentricity greater than 1, meaning its velocity is too high to be gravitationally bound to the sun. It is simply passing through and will eventually leave our solar system forever. That is, of course, if it's natural. Okay, if it's not, it could stick around a lot longer. So, the very last bit on what else we need to know is information about when it's closest to certain objects, that being the Earth and the Sun. So, Earth, it poses no threat to us with its current trajectory. And its closest approach to our planet will be far away, around 1.8 astronomical units, or about 170 million miles on December 19th, 2025. So, a little over a month and a half. We will be at our closest point to 3i Atlas. What is an astronomical unit? An astronomical unit is the distance measured from the sun to the Earth. Okay, this is going to be 1.8 astronomical units from us. So almost 2 times the distance from the sun to the Earth. So there's a lot of people saying, "Oh, we're going to be able to see it in the night sky." Unfortunately, man, I don't think that's going to be the case. We weren't able to see it when it was coming up and hid behind the sun, and I don't think we're going to be able to see it on the other side unless it makes a trajectory change, which it has a couple times now. That's another really weird thing that it did, but wasn't highlighted by Avi Loeb as one of his points to get put into his probability equation. Is it has seemed to make at least 3 that we know of trajectory changes. So when it pops out the other side of the sun, which we'll talk about really quick, this is what's called the perihelion. It will reach its closest point to the sun around October 29th. So I'm recording this on October 23rd, 6 days prior to that date. It will come out on October 24th. I'm going to try to stay up tonight and get this episode out. If not, it will be out. It'll probably be out tomorrow at some point. Passing inside of the orbit of Mars, it is generally not visible to the naked eye. So, again, probably not going to be visible. Okay, you're probably not going to be able to take your telescope and look for it. So, with that being said, I did save a few pictures for you guys that I wanted to show you. Let's see here. I don't know if I'm going to be able to save this or share this. Let's see if I can. This is inside of our Google Drive, so forgive. You're not going to see anything too crazy in here. But these pictures right here, these were taken by an amateur astronomy club of what supposedly is 3i Atlas. Very grainy. Okay, we've got a couple different filters applied here. And you ask me, it looks spherical. And one, I can't guarantee to you that those pictures are legit. That's number one thing I want to make clear. Okay. I can not confirm that those are legit, but those are the images that are being passed around to some of the intelligence agencies. Okay. We also have had the weird occurrence of the government shutdown happening and us supposed to, or we were supposed to get the pictures that NASA took of this object a couple days ago, up to actually about probably a week now, if not more. But we haven't. So right now they're blaming it on the government shutdown. But one thing I learned, and I had to verify this, is that NASA's not even in control of those pictures. It is a facility associated with the University of Arizona that is responsible for those satellites, space probes that are around Jupiter and Mars right now. They're not releasing them, and they're not technically government property. So it seems like there is a cover-up happening. Now, off script here, because my script is done, I want to talk a little bit about my thoughts on this. My personal thoughts, unscripted thoughts. I am neutral on this. I don't know. There is a lot of stuff here where the coincidence is very eerie. Okay? I do want to point out one thing. Avi Loeb has been chasing this, dare I say, because of a lack of a better term, dream, if you will, of extraterrestrial contact. His book, Extraterrestrial, okay? The tagline on it is the first sign of intelligent life beyond Earth. Okay? This whole book is about what would the first contact look like. This is coming from somebody who wants to see this. Okay? Not saying that he's wrong. Not at all. Okay? But I'm saying that you need to take that with a grain of salt. Okay? Avi Loeb has published a lot of works on extraterrestrial contact. So it is only natural that he would be the one stepping forward and saying, hey, this looks extraterrestrial in nature. But if an actual extraterrestrial craft were to come into our solar system, you would think that Avi Loeb would be in the position to be able to identify that first before anybody else. So it's kind of a double-sided blade here. Do you believe the guy who has been chasing the dream of coming into contact with extraterrestrials for a long time? Just because, well, I mean, he's the one looking for it, so usually when you look for something, you're going to find it. Or are you on the side of, well, Avi Loeb is the guy that would be able to point this shit out to us, and he is the one that would have to convince everybody. It's kind of just his natural position. I don't know what to do. I'm patiently waiting for more information to come out, trying to bite my tongue on things. I am very excited, very intrigued, and I'm just doing my best to go along for the ride here, checking updates as quick as I can, reaching out the sources that I have, trying to make sense of all this. We're going to learn a lot here within the next couple weeks, and we will have an answer of at least if this thing's going to stick around by January. Simple as that. If it just continues on its projection or projected path, good chance that it was just an interstellar comet. Or it needed to use, or, it was an extraterrestrial object that needed to use our sun's gravitational pull to help slingshot it to the next, whatever. Who knows? But that's pretty much it. Okay, I just wanted to give you guys a good breakdown of why Avi Loeb is saying this stuff. And I didn't want to do it in a way that was just parroting everybody else. You got a lot of people out there saying, hey, this is an object that's weird. And then another group of people are saying, no, don't be stupid. It's just a rock. But nobody's providing what the fuck Avi Loeb is even talking about. Okay, they're not discussing his points. And they're not looking at it from a point of view of, okay, this guy is making some pretty fucking gnarly points about something that nobody that's talking about this has any idea about. So I broke it down for you guys. And as you know, if you guys have been hanging out with me for the last 5 years, as I've done the Infinite Rabbit Hole podcast, you guys have known that I do a lot of research. This is my life. My life is research. I just do it. I love it. I live for it. When I present something to you guys, okay, doesn't matter in what format, this is the kind of extensive research that goes into everything that I provide you. This is why you can come to the Infinite Rabbit Hole, and when you hear things come out of my mouth, at least, I'm sure, Jeff does his own really good research. He's a smart guy. And Jake has his own expertise in especially the religious side of things, or Christian side of things. But when you come and you hear things from me, when you hear things when Project Jackalope comes up and that's running, this is what you can understand or know that is going into each and one of those presentations behind the scenes. Okay, I'm not just parroting shit to you guys. I will break it down into its smallest parts and dissect it in a way that should make sense for everybody. Please, if you have questions, reach out to me, infiniterabbithole@gmail.com, or shoot me a message on any messenger or DM in socials. Hit us up. Check us out. We're on everything right now. Okay, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, fuck anything. Okay, we're there. Find us. Stay up with us. We love what we do here in the Infinite Rabbit Hole, and we're here to provide you guys with great information and good debates. Okay, so I was trying to get Jeff on tonight because I'm sure he would love to pump the brakes on a lot of the things I said. And it would have been interesting to have his perspective on that. But you got me today, and I feel a lot better that I was able to put this out, and I hope that this reaches people and helps answer some of those questions for you. As I know, especially being at work today, the amount of people that came up to me and were newly curious about this three-eye atlas, and a lot of them were very shocked to hear that we've known about this thing since July. So I'm not gonna hold you guys any longer. It's been a long day for me. I worked 13 hours today, but I really wanted to get on here and talk to you guys so I can get this episode out before the weekend, so you guys can enjoy it and just kind of get caught up in all of the static and the mess that's going on right now amongst social medias and mainstream media when it comes to Three Eye Atlas. Please send me your questions if you have them. My name's Jeremy. And again, I'm the host of the Infinite Rabbit Hole podcast, soon to also be the host of Project Jackalope. I'm really excited about that. More to come later on that. Hang tight. Should be getting news out fairly quick. But until next time, travelers, we'll see you right here in the next fork in the path of the Infinite Rabbit Hole. Bye, guys. Have a good night.